It's September 1st, 2024, and I'm just trying to make a video summarizing what my family and I have been through the last 4 years as a result of an injury that was sustained while working and the lack of specialists and treatment here in Canada. It's August 17th, 2020. I was working and I felt some extreme pain in my lower back. Now everybody has your typical pain, muscles, you name it. This was on another level. This was pain I had never experienced before. It was so intense that it really limited me from doing anything. I called for a doctor appointment, was suggested to take over-the-counter pain relief, Tylenol, Advil, muscle relax, you name it. After a couple weeks, I was still told that I'm not getting better, that I should file for WCB, as this is a result of a workplace injury, and I did so. Before applying for WCB, I let my employer know that I would be doing so, and ultimately I was laid off after informing him. This took me by surprise. I didn't expect to be laid off in the middle of August. Even if it was an injury, there's still a couple months left of work. I continued trying to get treatment. I seen a chiropractor, massage therapy. I've had x-ray images taken, and everything said there is something going on, but we don't know what. The x-rays come back as unremarkable, saying there's nothing wrong, and they don't know what's causing me the pain. So I continue to take more medications, I continue to do more therapies, I continue to try and find out what is causing me this pain, and I'm ultimately left with no answers. Over the next 7 months, I continue therapies, physio, chiro, massage, acupuncture, tried probably 10 different medications, see numerous doctors, had MRI, x-rays again, and still nothing giving me answers to what's causing me the pain. Eventually I just stopped the treatment and decided, okay, I'll go and see out another chiropractor, which would have been number 2 or 3. And I go there and he views my images. He tries to explain them to me. He says, everything in your spine looks squared up. It's symmetrical. The spacing and the distancing in the disc space is great. So he's like, I don't really know what to tell you. And he ends up showing me the image so he can explain things a little better. And instantly I look at my image down to the lower spot of my spine, and I notice the 2 sides don't look symmetrical. And I kind of asked him, what is that? Why does this side not look the same as that side? And he says, I've only seen this one other time. There was a patient of mine, he was a triathlete. He ended up having extreme pain. He doesn't know what ended up happening to him, where he was, what's going on, but his anatomy was the same as mine. So essentially, he explained that I'm born with this joint, and it's a congenital anomaly, and he doesn't really know what to say, so he sends me for another x-ray. At this x-ray, the results come back a few days later. I go and have another appointment with him, and he gives me the results, and I view it on eHealth as well, and I Google the results. It was sacralization of the L5 transverse process is partially fused to the ala of the sacrum. This basically means that a part of my lower spine, the little wing coming off of that, the transverse process, is enlarged, and it's partially fused to my sacrum. And in this pseudo joint, there is a false joint. Now this false joint doesn't have the components that a shoulder, elbow, another joint would have. It's basically just held together by scar tissue. And over time, or a traumatic event can cause that scar tissue to blow apart and have injury, causing those bones that are held together there to just constantly rub on each other. So with that report, I put it into Google, like most people do if they don't know what's going on, and I spent all night trying to research and find answers to why I'm having pain. I ended up coming across a group on Facebook of a condition known as Bertolotti syndrome. I asked Jess, my fiance, if she could join the group, and she did that, and a few days later we were accepted, and we started reading some of these stories, and everything that these people were talking about and experiencing was the exact same thing that I had been dealing with. Extreme back pain, sharp bone-on-bone pain, limited to what you can do, in bed for weeks at a time, seeing doctors and being told, no, there's nothing wrong with you, or we don't know what's causing you this. When I came across this page and I was reading these stories, I felt like I found the answers. And I got so emotional because for 7 months I had been doing everything that I can to find out what is going on. Once I joined this group, there was a surgeon in the States who performs surgeries on this condition, and I paid for a consult, and it was a very detailed consult. I sent all my imaging. They asked what happened, this and that, and it came back, and I actually received a 28-page report from that surgeon, which I then took to a surgeon here locally in Regina. Now, I had to call numerous times just to get him to view this report. Once the report was viewed, he called me back and he said that I am not letting a 28-page report dictate or change how I view what is going on in your back. You do not have back pain, and there's nothing wrong. I was shocked. I didn't know what to say. It's not like it was a one-page report. This was a very detailed report labeling the imaging, the issues of my spine, what causes it, what the condition is, and ways to treat it. It was so disheartening. So eventually, at the end of that call, where I just got lectured for 30 minutes and got to say about 1 minute's worth of what I wanted to say, I was then referred to another surgeon in Saskatoon. These wait times were about 18 months to get into this surgeon. So throughout this time, I continued trying to find more medications that will help me. I asked to be referred to a pain specialist, and I just continued trying to get myself better. But every time I go and try another therapy or treatment, it just makes things worse. Those bones in my back that I now know are rubbing together have been inflamed every time I go to a chiropractor and they put all their weight down on me. When I go to physio and they stretch me and try to manually manipulate my spine. All of this is just causing more inflammation and causing more pain to that lower part of my spine. It also makes it hard because in 2020 we're kind of in the middle of the pandemic, and I can't go in to see surgeons. I can't go in to be assessed properly. I can't do this. A lot of stuff is over the phone. So it just makes it really difficult trying to get in touch with a surgeon or a doctor and to just get them to listen to you or even do a physical assessment on you. So throughout this time of waiting to get into the surgeon, I do have an injection into my spine. I have to travel to Moose Jaw for this, and the pain specialist who I see actually has heard about Bertolotti syndrome before, and he actually dealt with it under the care of another physician in Ontario. So this was the first time I actually found somebody who knew about Bertolotti syndrome, and when I was telling them about it, they didn't shut me down right away. So I go to Moose Jaw, have the injection, and it does relieve the pain for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Obviously the drive there and back is excruciating and not enjoyable at all, but the fact that I had this injection and it did reduce my pain in that area, it does diagnose and confirm that this pseudo joint is the pain generating area. So at some point after that, I do get a call for a cancellation with the surgeon in Saskatoon who I've been waiting to see. I'm not sure the exact wait time for this, but I say yes to that right away. And that appointment, I believe, was, wow, for 3 years to the day. September 1st, I believe it was. So before this appointment with him, I have a hearing with WCB. Now, I've appealed with them probably 3 times at this point, and I had a WCB workers advocate help me appeal this last time, and he could not believe that this claim was not accepted. He could not believe that they can't relate this pain and injury to my line of work, that it's taken this long and this much of a fight to have a hearing. Essentially at the hearing, I explain everything that I have been through, what it's caused, the financial stress that we've had from this, the mental stress, what I am not able to do with my kids, and how I'm unable to work. I have the hearing, and they say that they would like to wait until I go and see the Saskatoon surgeon before they'll give me a decision. So I go and see the Saskatoon surgeon the following week, and it is suggested that I do more images, CT, X-ray, I believe maybe an MRI, and that I have a second injection into my spine, as the first one did not diagnose or confirm anything. Now, with Bertolotti syndrome, it is very common for a steroid injection to not last for more than a few hours. Some people do get relief for weeks to months, but mainly it's just used as a diagnostic test to see if that is the pain generating area. That was the case for me. So in October, I had the second spinal injection done. I had to drive to Saskatoon to have it done. I live in Regina, so that's about 2.5 hour drive away. I leave that morning. I go to the clinic where they're going to perform the injection, and I speak with the pain specialist doing the procedure and ask if he's ever done this before, and he says not this specific injection. So that had me a little worried, but I don't have a choice. WCB wants me to get this. Healthcare professional that I'm seeing now, my surgeon, wants me to get this done, so I have to go through with it. So I lay on the table and they freeze me, and I didn't really think the freezing was working, and then they go to do the actual injection, and I feel the needle go in, and he goes to try and maneuver it into the correct location. that it needs to go, and he pushes it in, and he hits my spine with the needle, and the needle needs to be removed, and the tip of the needle is bent all the way over. They needed to replace the tip of the needle with a new one and completely redo the procedure all over again. Now, I felt everything this whole time. The freezing did not work, and this caused me so much more pain than I had before that it was awful. Right after that, about 10 minutes after the procedure, they did an in-house physiotherapy assessment that basically did some tests of me trying to touch my toes, leaning back, sideways, you name it, and the report came back that this injection did not reduce this man's pain, and there was no change. I can't imagine why there would be no change or a reduction in pain after I just drove 2.5 hours, had a needle put into my back, hit my spine, and then you want me to do tests after this. It's not shocking that I didn't have a reduction in pain. Not only that, a steroid can take up to 3 weeks to fully kick in and start working. When I read the report of this, it was said that Mr. Wagman tolerated the procedure well. I don't believe that that is true. I don't know why it was not documented that this happened, and there was never any mention of it to any of my surgeons, any of the medical people that I have seen. So I go back to Regina in more pain than I have ever been in. Let me remind you, I still have the bones rubbing together in my spine. Now I've had a needle hit my spine, and I've had to drive now 5 hours to and from Saskatoon just to have this procedure done. In the next few months or so, I continue to try resting and a little bit of chiropractic. We tried a couple different things, ultrasound with a steroid cream and this and that, and nothing really helped. I've tried, again, many more medications, including some for my mental state, which has declined so much at this point. My family and I, we were at a loss with what to do medically, financially, as I was not working. I had no income coming in, and we had no idea really what we were going to do. I had asked my physician if I could see a counselor to kind of talk about this, and it was said that wait times are too long and the chance of you getting in anytime soon is pretty slim, which I understood because we're in the middle of the pandemic. A lot of people are going through mental anguish and stress and you name it, so I get that. So I was then told, here, try this medication, which actually caused me to be more depressed, have less drive, and a nice way of putting this is it gave me thoughts that I've never thought of before in my life, and if I were to act on some of those thoughts, it would make this situation a lot worse for the people close to me. I won't say what those thoughts were, but I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say, that giving up might have been the only solution at this point. There was a time when I was waiting, to see my pain specialist, and I was told that we could not do the injection yet. So I was pretty depressed, thinking that we were going to do it that day, and we weren't able to, and I had to wait a few more months to have the steroid injection done, just in any hopes to release and relieve a little bit of pain that I was having. And I remember sitting on Albert Street waiting for my ride to show up, crying and contemplating to just like get up and start walking straight. It was awful that those thoughts crossed my mind, but at that point when you feel hopeless, you've reached out to so many people for help, you've been denied WCB numerous times, and you really don't have any options. Things that you think are not rational. So eventually I was given a decision again after the hearing with WCB, and they essentially denied me again. Now these people have literally made our lives a living nightmare. They're not there to work with you, they're there to fight you and make you go through hurdles, jump through hoops, go above and beyond to provide any sort of information to them. They say they follow policy, but they do not. They're not there to work with you. And that's across the board. Every person that I've had to deal with at WCB has not really helped me at all and caused so much more additional stress to my family's lives than I could even explain. It took, I believe it was 184 days before I received the final decision from them that they were going to deny me. After this denial, I believe I tried to get a hold of a lawyer to help me appeal this. I ended up finding a lawyer here in Saskatchewan who, when he heard what I was going through, he couldn't help himself but to help me. This lawyer, I remember once he's saying that, yes, I will help you. I remember crying on the phone. This is the first time I ever heard any positive news in the last 2 years since being injured, that somebody was actually gonna fight with me, not against me. We sent in quite a few documents and we were ready to go to court, and something very unsuspecting happened. This lawyer who was willing to help me suddenly passed away, and hearing this news actually made me super upset. This is somebody who was willing to take a chance on me when no one else would. We were ready to go and fight against WCB, and just knowing that such a young person, he was about 37, 38 years old, suddenly just passes away, it's very sad. Not just for me and my situation, but he has a family and stuff like that. So my heart goes out to them, and I think about him a lot. I wish I could thank him again for just taking the chance to help me. So after he passed away, I didn't know what to do. I was on hold with my legal case against WCB, and it wasn't until like about a month later that somebody else from that law firm reached out to me and said that I am willing to take over this case and finish it off. At that point, I was so grateful, and I didn't really know what more I could do, I guess. I had to explain everything all over again. We had to go through everything, and at this point it's like we've done so much, but all of that stuff that we had done before kind of just gets put to the side and we have to start fresh again. So we start doing the documents and all this preparation to continue on and push back court dates and this and that, and eventually we end up presenting something to WCB, and then there's back and forth and they have to review everything. Now in the meantime, I tried applying for CPP disability, and this process is very lengthy as well. They're not they're not really there to work with you either. I had to fill out so many forms. I had to get so much medical. I had to get in touch with my surgeon, and I get that everybody has their process and that you don't just get approved the first time you do something, but they don't understand when you're dealing with this amount of pain that it's difficult for you to go and drive to get letters filled out, to make more doctor appointments, to go above and beyond to try and get the information that likely is already provided to them. So after I think about it, 6 to 9 months, I got a decision that I was denied CPP disability. This was super disheartening, and I had to appeal that, which then took even longer, and I had to get more surgeon information, and essentially that appeal I was denied again, and CPP disability actually closed that file and that claim. I then had to apply again to disability, start all over, get my doctor to fill out all the forms again, mail them in, do this whole process again, and send that into them to see if they will accept it. Now, the reason I got denied the first time is things were said that I should be able to recover rather shortly and get back to work after my procedure, but my surgeon had never performed this procedure before, so how could you be sure on the information that you're putting out there? They ended up denying that one, as I said, and I had to reapply for the new one, and the new one was denied again as a family physician didn't send in proper documents and didn't answer certain questions that were asked from the medical adjudicators at CPP disability. I was denied again, so I had to appeal, and I got a decision back from the appeal that I was again denied. So this is about a 2-year process of applying multiple times, appealing multiple times, and being denied multiple times. After all this, I didn't really know what to do, and my mental state was even worse. I've tried many different medications for pain and mental. They did not work at all. After these denied appeals, I remember not knowing what to do and not wanting to even try doing anything else anymore. I got a phone call one day from somebody at disability reading my claim. I actually sent in a letter explaining what I've been through, and if things continue this way, that I don't know if I want to continue fighting anymore. This lady named Elizabeth called me and explained that she could not believe what I had been through, the treatment that I received, and that after reading everything and looking at my medical file, that she was approving the disability claim. I remember crying when I heard that news. I mean, after so many times being told no or being avoided or not heard, finally something again positive. I still think about that day all the time. Like, something that you've been fighting for over 2 years finally getting approved and able to take a little bit of financial stress off of you and your family was huge. Now, after that, before getting that acceptance, I had a surgery, and again had to go to Saskatoon and meet the surgeon, had many consults, many images taken again, and I remember waking up after the surgery and feeling no bone-on-bone pain. It was the first time in 2 and a bit years that I hadn't felt that. I remember leaving the hospital after a couple days. Pain medication wasn't able to help me. They tried, but essentially nothing really did reduce that pain a whole lot. They said that I'm likely just one of those people where medication just doesn't help them a whole lot. So they let me out of the hospital, and we drove back to Regina here, which is 2.5 hours, and that was the worst drive of my life. I remember picking up the medication from the hospital, or from the pharmacy, coming back home, and I was about as green as this jersey that I'm wearing. Just thought that she was gonna have to take me to the emergency here because I did not look well, I did not feel well, and she didn't really know what to do. After a little while, things calmed down, and recovery started. I remember about a week after the surgery feeling a really sharp pain in the top right of my back. Not a pain I had ever felt before. Something very sharp and piercing. When you move, you feel it. So I got a hold of my surgeon's office, clinic, and asked if there was any reason that this might be causing me pain. I was told, nope, there's nothing, no reason, and he'll see you at your 1-month appointment. So I drive to Saskatoon and have the appointment. He believes that it could just be muscles that are tight, or some muscle issue going on with the recovery, and that there's nothing to worry about. I again have to trust him, as I did going into the procedure, knowing that he's never dealt with this specific entity before and condition, and just trust that this is part of the process. Now, over the next couple months, I slowly recover, and I end up going to physiotherapy, as that's what's suggested for post-surgery. I go there and we do the initial testing and stretching and exercises, and there's a little bit of pressure applied to the lower part of my back. And once that was done, I did feel like a lot of pain at that moment, and things rapidly got worse after that. I continued to get more and more pain. I went to the hospital, but I ultimately knew something went wrong when that happened. So I go to the hospital, spend a lot of time there in the emergency, and again, just like the numerous times I went there, nobody knows what to tell me or what to do, as they never experienced this before. So I get a hold of the doctor in New York, and he reviews my imaging and he says that this is just a non-union, that the procedure failed, likely due to a combination of the pressure on my spine and the lack of grafting and the way the procedure was done. It was likely to fail anyways. So essentially he says I need a revision surgery to be done, and I know that I need that done too. So we continue to talk back and forth, and I get another report explaining what to do, what he believes is going on, and I bring that back to my surgeon, and I get them to communicate this time. So the doctor in New York can explain what needs to be done, why it's done a certain way, and that it will help my surgeon understand why it's done this way. So the grafting that needs to be used for this condition was not used in the first procedure. And now in the second procedure, that was done in 2023, I have had a relapse in pain again. Now my pain is worse than it was before. I have mixed opinions on what is going on in my back. Local surgeons here don't believe there's any issues with hardware. They believe that I am fused, which ever since I've had my first x-ray, they've also thought that I'm fused and that there is no issue. So it makes it hard to believe and trust some of the things that they say when they've never dealt with this condition before. One surgeon here believes that the screws could be loose and that there are shadowing and haloing around the screw, but he believes it is just the tracks from the previous screw holes. My thoughts are, if you have a screw and a pre-drilled hole and you put a bigger screw in there, what void would there be? Why would there be shadowing? Why would there be haloing of the screw? And when I speak to the doctors in the States, they say these screws are for sure loose. There's shadowing, there's haloing, and you're telling me you can feel the screws. Not only that, you're telling me that you feel the bone pain, the pain that you have had for the better part of 4 years. When I speak to the surgeons here, they more so give me their opinion on what they would do, not on what I am asking of them and what I am suggesting to be done from other surgeons who have treated the condition. And I've read hundreds of stories of other people with this condition, and when they have the proper treatment done and procedure, that their life gets back. It's really disheartening that I've now had 2 procedures done here, and they ultimately haven't been done specifically the way that they need to be done, even after consult. And not only have they not been done the same way, they're actually causing me more pain now and causing me further spine issues with the misplacement of screws, the lack of grafting being used, and now I have an L4-5 disc at the level above that is degenerating and likely going to need a procedure or replacement on that in the future. All of this could have been avoided if I had just seen somebody with experience on this condition. I don't know how many times and how many surgeons I've seen. I believe about 7 surgeons look at this here in Saskatchewan only and say that this isn't causing you pain. I've never heard of the condition. This is a simple procedure that any surgeon can do, yet I've had this procedure done a couple times now and it hasn't helped me. It makes it very tough to go and have another procedure with somebody here in Saskatchewan or Canada if they've never done it before. I don't want to end up in the same position, or even worse than I am now, by trusting another surgeon here. This whole situation, injury that we are in, my family and I, has caused a lot of stress. It's flipped our lives upside down. We've tried everything that we can. We've reached out to Scott Moe, MLAs in the area, spoken with the MP, tried to get a hold of the Ministry of Health, Ministry of WCB, contacted the Ombudsman, who's reviewed the WCB decisions and actually felt that they followed policy and procedures and acted fairly. I've seen numerous surgeons and cried to them in their office explaining what I'd like to do to myself, as I cannot take this anymore. I've done multiple procedures, multiple applications and appeals with disability and WCB. We've exhausted all options, and we're begging to have somebody here help us. When reaching out to the surgeons in the States, the quotes that we receive are astronomically high. We cannot afford that money, and being that we have done everything suggested by the Sask Health, I feel like now is a great time for them to step up and fund the procedure to be done, as I'm only getting worse mentally and physically, and they need to find somebody to treat the other Canadians suffering with this. I'm not the only one in Saskatchewan or Canada with this condition. I believe there's roughly 100 other Canadians in the same position that I am, struggling to find a surgeon to even listen to them, and it's almost impossible to find anybody to do a procedure on you. We need help. I want to be the voice for all of us suffering with this condition. This is not fair. I don't want anyone else to have to go through multiple failed procedures, be a guinea pig for somebody, just in hopes to get their life back because they cannot afford to have it done in the States. Canada needs somebody, just one surgeon, to be able to help the hundreds of us with this condition. Now, I know many people have things far worse than what my family and I are going through, but the most frustrating part about this is that the condition and the injury that I have is curable and treatable, and I don't have access to that here in Canada or Saskatchewan. I don't understand how we don't have somebody to treat this. I don't understand why it's so hard for me to get the proper care. As I mentioned before, all I'm trying to do, and all I've tried to do for the better part of 4 years, is get my back better so I can contribute to society, get back to work, which I love doing, and playing and supporting my family and kids. This is something I'm unable to do. And for me to say this in front of the camera, I'm very uncomfortable. I don't tell people my story often at all because it's embarrassing to me. I'm a pretty proud person for the most part, so putting this out there is super hard. But I feel the more I keep this in, the less likely I am to get the proper treatment and be able to help more people and spread awareness on Bertolotti syndrome. I mean, this is just a bit of what my family and I have had to go through, and we're not done yet. We continue to fight every day. We continue to try to get a hold of the people who can help us. We continue to try and spread the awareness about Bertolotti syndrome, and we've literally tried everything that we can do. This is kind of a last resort in getting the proper treatment or funding so that I can get my life back and me and my family can start doing things that we've been unable to do for the last 4 years. I should mention that a few months back, WCB finally did accept. We were supposed to have a court date set for, I don't know the date, and they actually reached out to me a month or two before that, saying they'd like to reconsider the decision that they have made on my claim. I found this quite ironic that they would like to do that right before it's set up to go to court in front of a judge, when the information we provide them is the same information I've been providing them for the last 3.5 years. They ultimately came back and said that we approve your claim. Now, as happy as that makes me, the process and dealing with them has been a nightmare, to say the least. My lawyer actually couldn't believe that they did overturn that decision, being that we gave them the same medical evidence, information, and there was nothing different that we had provided them this last time than I had given them 3 years ago. Since them accepting, I have still had to fight with them. They are not an easy organization to deal with. And as I mentioned before, it doesn't really seem like they're there to help you. They say they are. They try to do a little bit here and there to please you, but it's been an ultimate fight for everything. They're not willing to pay for me to go to the States to have this done. They think that they can find somebody here to help me, when it's all I've done for 4 years is try and find somebody here who's able to do that. They want me to go to Calgary now to see another surgeon who has no idea on how to treat this condition. When does this end? When do I get some credibility for what I've been through? Why do I continue to have to go and do every single thing that they suggest over and over and over again, when it just ultimately leads to me being in the same position that I am right now? I've explained to them and provided the treatment that I need. I've explained to them that I'm not willing to be the guinea pig again for another surgeon who has never treated the condition. Now, WCB and the Ministry of Health have failed me time and time again. I have gone above and beyond to do every single thing that they have ever suggested. Multiple surgeries, multiple injections, filling out forms multiple times, getting surgeons to write in letters so that they can review my file and likely accept and fund a procedure. And they want me to continue to see surgeons throughout Canada before they will do that. Mentally, as I mentioned before, I cannot continue to do the plan that they want. 4 years is enough. This has wrecked me mentally. My family has missed out on so much. Everything that I can't do, Jess has to. And I think it's time for this to all just be done. I need to be heard. I need somebody to fight with me and get me in the position to be able to get the proper treatment. Multiple surgeons in the States have treated this condition. There's just none here in Canada with the experience on treating it. I really hope that I can continue to fight to get this procedure. I hope that this video gets out there and not only helps me, but many other people who are in the same position as I am. This condition, although it's rare and underdiagnosed and uneducated and whatever it may be, it's not uncurable. There's a treatment that can help a lot of us. We just don't have access to it here in Canada. I really thank you guys all for listening to this. I'm sorry if it was a bit of a rant, and I have missed so much stuff. It's just super hard to try and think of everything and speak on it. If there's other stuff that I have forgotten, maybe I'll make another video and kind of dial in on some of those other things. And if there's anybody out there suffering from Bertolotti syndrome, or even another spine injury or any injury, feel free to reach out to me. I mean, holding it in is not good. I've learned that, and I believe talking about what's going on is probably beneficial to everybody. I do go and see somebody now to kind of help me with that, my mental state, and we'll see how that goes. It's probably long overdue of keeping things inside and built up. But like I said, if anybody out there wants to reach out, I do have lots of people who contact me already, and we talk about what's going on, and you know, it's just nice to be able to relate to somebody going through similar stuff that you are. It's nice to talk to family, friends, and stuff like that when you can, but they don't really understand the pain that you endure. So I find talking about it to other people who are going through something similar, it sometimes makes it a bit easier. Again, sorry that this seemed like kind of a rant, and I know I'm at 50 plus minutes here, but I really appreciate everything that my family has done. They've been there, friends. You know, without these people, things might be a lot differently for me. So that's it for today. I'll try and think of a few more things that I can maybe make another video of, things that I missed, and we'll try and get that out here in another day. So thank you. Have a good weekend, and go Riders.